Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you a game from the Iranian Chess Championship 2019. An 11-round open with the best Iranian players competing for the national title. The young Alireza Firouzja, 15 years old with a rating of 2618, won the title with the round to spare. So let's watch together the game from round 7 against Pourramenazali, a grandmaster with a rating of 2529. Let's start with the game. Pourramenazali with the white pieces opens with e4 and Firouzja answers with knight to f6, the Alekhine defense. e5 attacking the knight, knight to d5, and here comes d4. d6 opening the way for the light square bishop and attacking the most advanced white pawn. Knight to f3 to protect the pawn, and here comes g6. This is the second most played move. The most played is bishop to g4, but g6 also looks natural because black wants to develop the bishop in fianchetto because the bishop on the other diagonal is blocked by the pawn chain. After g6, bishop to c4 hitting again the knight, knight to b6, bishop goes back to b3, and here comes bishop to g7. In this type of position, there is also the idea of a queensy change. The main line is what Pourramenazali plays, and is knight to g5, attacking f7. Here comes e6 to close the diagonal, queen to f3, another piece attacking f7, and Firouzja plays queen to e7. Also, short castle was a good move. The knight goes back to e4 because the idea is to play knight to f6 with check, and even if the knight will be captured, the pawn will recapture. In this position, let's pay attention because castle is never played. Let's watch why. If castle now, bishop to g5 first, attacking the queen, queen to e8, and after knight in b goes to c3, there is still the idea of knight jump on f6 with check, and with white that activated the last piece, and with the possibility of a long castle, the attack that will arise is too strong to defend, because black is also much behind in development, and also black lacks some space, especially here on the king side. So, going back, after knight to e4, here comes h6 to control g5, bishop to f4, knight to c6, and e capture on d5 attacking the queen. What to do now? The best move is knight capture on d4, threatening white's queen, because let's go back one move. If c capture on d6, here comes knight capture on d6 with check, the knight is protected by the bishop, the black king must move and can't castle anymore. Okay, so Firouzja plays the right move, knight capture on d4, and now how to continue as white? Queen to d3 and queen to g3, they are both good moves that increase the pressure on e6, even if on d3 indirectly. Queen to g3, to me, is a bit less good than queen to d3 because after queen to g3, the knight can jump to f5, again attacking the queen. So let's watch what happens after queen to d3. If now queen to d3, this is not the game, this is the variation that I'd like to show you. Of course, now the pawn can capture the queen must move, queen to d7, d capture on c7, e5, bishop to e3, and after queen capture on c7, the game is equal. Let's go back to our game. After knight capture on d4, white allows the queen exchange, but this is an inaccuracy. D capture on e7, knight capture queen on f3 with check, g recapture on f3, and black is already a bit better. Bishop capture on b2, the rook is lost, knight in b goes to c3, bishop capture on a1, and bishop to e5, this is a very good move. Now, the rook can't move to these squares, and also can't move to h7 because there is always the knight fork, knight jump to f6 we check. So here comes the good move, f5, attacking the knight, bishop capture the rook on h8, f capture on e4, rook to g1, this is a very good move. Let's remember that the king, even after bishop to d7, can't castle long because the pawn is controlling the square, and so the king will always remain in the center and must capture the pawn. So first c5, and this is another important moment of the game. So this bishop is in danger. So what to do? White can play a3, and in my opinion this is the best possible line. Let's watch it. a3, bishop to d7, rook capture on g6, king capture on e6, opening the attack from the rook to the bishop, bishop to f6 we check, king to f7, and rook capture on h6. But here comes c4, bishop to a2, e capture on f3. Black is a pawn up, has a better pawn structure, this light square bishop is restricted, and so black start to be quite a bit better. Let's go back to the game, but after c5, white doesn't play a3, he captures directly with the rook. Rook capture on g6. Here comes c4, bishop to f6, bishop to f7, and here this is an important move because there is not anymore the simple checkmate, rook to g8 we check, the king must go to f7 and then rook to f8 checkmate, because now after the king moves the rook can capture on f8. But let's remember this pattern. Now comes knight capture on e4, bishop capture on f6, rook recapture on f6, and c capture on b3, a capture on b3, king capture finally on e7, and black is winning. Is winning because after rook capture on h6, it's true that black is 2 pawn down, but he is also a piece up. Now it's interesting to see how black can win the game. We must remember that before to win the game here on the queen side, black must take full control of the king side, because these pawns can become dangerous. So Firouzja plays rook to f8, activates the rook and attack the pawn, rook to h7 we check, king to d8, king to e2, and bishop to c6, h4, because this is the only counterplay that white has, knight to d7, also knight to d5 is good because knight must come to the king side, knight to g5 and knight to g5 and king to c8. Still white can capture the e6 pawn because the knight is protecting f3. So rook to e7, Pourramenazali want to capture the pawn with the rook, knight to e5, rook capture on e6, bishop capture on f3 we check, knight capture on f3, and knight recapture on f3 attacking h4. Rook to e4, protecting the pawn, king to d7, rook to g4, knight to e5, hitting the rook, and rook to g7 we check. Now let's pay attention. Knight to f7, shielding the king, this is the good move, because black doesn't want to exchange the rook now, because the game becomes difficult to win. Black can exchange the rooks when he is in full control of the king side. And black is not afraid to shield the king with the knight that becomes pinned, because white has no other piece or pawn that can increase the attack on the pinned piece. Rook to g4, rook to h8, rook to d4 we check, and again knight to d6, king to f3, king to e6, the king is moving toward the king side and also breaks the pin, and rook to a4 attacking the pawn, but this is too simple to stop. A6, king to g4, rook to g8 we check, and king to f3. Rook to f8 we check, rook to e4, and again black doesn't want to change the rooks. Rook to c8 attacking c2, c4, king to e5, and rook to g4. Rook to f8 we check, king to g2, and here knight to f5 is the move that Firouzja plays. Let's go back one move. Rook to f4 now is a good move, because you see how the king is in control of the king side, the king is active, the pawn can't advance, and the white king is not so well positioned like the black king. Because in this position, if rook capture and king capture, black king is in the right position to control the pawns. Here comes king to h3, and watch this simple and nice idea. Knight capture on c4, and white can't recapture, or the a pawn will move forward and will promote to queen. So let's go back. After king to g2, Firouzja plays knight to f5. Here comes b4, and rook to d8 is the best move. Rook to h8 is still a good move, still winning, but we lose a tempo, because after king to h3, the rook can't do nothing on the h file and must go on the open file again. So let's go back to the game. Rook to d8, c5, rook to d4. See that now Firouzja wants to exchange the rooks. King to h3, king to f6, h5, rook capture on g4, king capture on g4, and knight to d4. King to f4, knight to c6, attacking the b4 pawn, and you see that the black king is really controlling everything. Here comes b5, a capture on b5, king to e4, king to g5, and white resigns because there is no more any type of counterplay. Let's make some other moves to understand what will happen. f4 we check, for example, king capture on h5, king to f5, but here comes b4. The king must go back to e4 to enter into the square, or the pawn will advance and promote without problems. King to g4, king to e3, knight to a5 will help the pawn to move forward. King to d3, the king capture on f4, king to d4, and here comes b3. Again, the king is forced to go back, can't move forward to help the pawn. King to c3, king to e3, king to b4, and here comes b2, and this is game over. And here we can end our analysis. I hope that you liked the game and that we could learn something about these winning endgames. As usual, don't forget to like the video, to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you soon.